He never pulled a trigger. He never stood on a street corner. He never screamed, never threatened, never even raised his voice above a polite conversational tone. And yet for 20 years, every mob boss in America, every Don, every capo, every street soldier from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, answered to him. This is the story of Carlo Gambino, the most powerful mafia boss in American history. And the fact that you almost forgot his name is exactly the point. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button right now. Every week we go deep inside the world of organized crime, criminal empires, and the men who built them. You don't want to miss what's coming next. The year is 1921. Lower Manhattan smells like salt water, coal smoke, and bread from a dozen different bakeries. The docks are chaos. Ships arriving from Palermo, Naples, Messina, unloading thousands of Sicilian immigrants onto American soil every single week. Most of them come with nothing. A few of them come with connections. 19-year-old Carlo Gambino steps off the steamship Vincenza with forged papers, $7 in his pocket, and a name. Not his own name, someone else's name, a contact. A cousin of a cousin who knew people in Brooklyn, who knew people in Manhattan, who knew people in a world that had no official name yet, but was already running half the waterfront. He was born in Palermo in 1902, into a family already tangled in the Sicilian Mafia. His cousins were Castellanos. His uncles were connected. He absorbed the culture of silence and patience the way other children absorb language, naturally, completely, without effort. He arrived in America already knowing the first rule: the man who talks is the man who falls. New York in the 1920s is a machine running on illegal fuel. Prohibition has just made alcohol a criminal enterprise, and the criminal enterprises of New York, Irish, Jewish, Italian, are racing to control it. The Mafia is not yet unified. It is a collection of warring Sicilian clans, each controlling a neighborhood, a dock, a racket. Violence is constant. Leadership changes by gunshot. Young Carlo Gambino watches all of this and does something most ambitious men cannot do. He waits. He works. He drives trucks. He moves whiskey. He learns faces, debts, loyalties. He never cheats anyone. He never takes more than his share. He shows up on time, every time, and says less than anyone expects. By the time the Castellamarese War tears the New York underworld apart in 1930 and 1931, leaving bosses dead in barbershops and restaurant booths, Gambino has already positioned himself on the winning side. He backs the right man. He survives. And he remembers who didn't. The commission is established in 1931 by Lucky Luciano, and the 5 families of New York become the architecture of American organized crime. Gambino rises slowly, methodically, through the Mangano family. He is made. He becomes a capo. He earns, he delivers. He never draws attention. When Albert Anastasia, the Lord High Executioner, the man who built Murder Incorporated, becomes boss, Gambino serves loyally beneath him. And then, in October of 1957, someone shoots Albert Anastasia 4 times in a barber's chair at the Park Sheraton Hotel in Manhattan. The killer is never officially identified, but Carlo Gambino becomes boss of the family within weeks. He is 55 years old. He has been working toward this moment for 36 years, and he has not spent a single night in prison. What made Gambino different from every other boss was not his violence. It was his restraint. At his peak, the Gambino family controls construction rackets, garment districts, garbage collection, airport cargo theft, and loan sharking operations across 5 boroughs and beyond. The family generates an estimated $500 million per year. That number, $500 million, would make it one of the largest privately held businesses in New York, and it runs quieter than most of them. Gambino does not live like a king. He lives in a modest house in Brooklyn. He drives ordinary cars. He wears plain suits. He hosts Sunday dinners for family. His neighbors describe him as a quiet, polite old man who keeps to himself. The FBI spends years trying to build a case against him and struggles because Gambino has almost completely insulated himself from direct criminal activity. He never touches money. He never gives orders in writing. He never meets with anyone who might be wearing a wire in a place that isn't swept for listening devices first. Every instruction travels through layers, from Gambino to an underboss to a capo to a soldier, so that by the time a crime is committed, the chain of command is nearly impossible to trace back to the top. He expands the family's power not through warfare, but through marriage, alliance, and financial entanglement. His own son marries the daughter of Tommy Lucchese, cementing a bond between 2 of the 5 families that makes conflict between them almost structurally impossible. He mediates disputes between other families before they become wars. Other bosses bring him their problems the way medieval lords brought problems to a king, not because he demands it, but because his judgment is trusted, and because everyone understands that disrespecting Carlo Gambino is a decision with permanent consequences. The Apalachin meeting of 1957, where over 60 mob bosses gather at a rural estate in upstate New York and are accidentally discovered by a suspicious state trooper, is a catastrophe for American organized crime. It blows the cover story that the Mafia doesn't exist. It leads to Senate hearings, FBI task forces, a generation of new scrutiny. Gambino attends the meeting. He is identified. And then he watches as the government's case against him, like so many others, falls apart. The charges from Apalachin are eventually dismissed on appeal. He walks out of the courtroom and goes home to Brooklyn. Through the 1960s and into the 70s, every other major boss faces serious prison time. Vito Genovese dies in federal prison. Joe Bonanno is deported. The government's war on organized crime is escalating. Gambino faces indictment for labor racketeering and conspiracy, is declared too ill to stand trial, and dies at home, in his own bed, on October 15, 1976. A heart attack. Natural causes. He is 74 years old. The doctors who examine him find that his heart had been failing for years. He had spent his final years in a slow, graceful withdrawal from power, having already hand-selected Paul Castellano as his successor, a choice that would eventually tear the family apart. But that is a different story for a different video. The Gambino family outlives him by decades. It survives Castellano's assassination in front of Sparks Steakhouse in 1985. It survives John Gotti's flamboyant reign and his life sentence. It survives federal prosecutions that would dismantle almost any other organization. At its height, the family has over 500 maid members and thousands of associates. Today, diminished but not extinct, it remains one of the most studied criminal organizations in American history. Carlo Gambino never wrote a memoir. He gave no interviews. He left no manifesto. The FBI surveillance tapes from his later years capture him speaking in vague, elliptical phrases that could mean almost anything in court. He understood that power doesn't announce itself. He understood that the loudest man in the room is almost never the most dangerous. He understood something that most people in positions of authority never learn, that the less you appear to be in control, the more completely you can be in control. Some men rule through fear, some through charisma, some through violence. Carlo Gambino ruled through absence, through silence, through the careful cultivation of a persona so ordinary, so unremarkable, so genuinely forgettable, that the most powerful law enforcement apparatus in the world spent 20 years trying to grab hold of him and kept finding nothing but air. He never raised his voice. He never needed to. Word count: 1,512. 1,512.